So we're going to start by taking the x squared plus 9x plus 20, and we are going to, look on your little factoring chart, we're going to use what we call our x method. In this case, all three of the examples that we're going to look at right here on this side, all of the a values equal a 1, okay? So we'll use that method that I have for you on your chart, okay? And if you look at that, it's the first one, not the second one. You see that on the top of your x, we put the c value in. On the bottom, we put the b value in. And then on each side, we put in the factors of the factor of c. Again, over here, the factor of c. You have it on your, you don't have to, you have it on your. And they're also they're the factors of c, but they also add to b. And you have that on your, you don't have to write this. Okay, so we're going to look at three, and these are patterns. I want you to start picking up on the pattern as we work through these. We're going to take our first one, which is x squared plus 9x plus 20. I'm just going to write the standard form above it. Okay? And I'm going to put in my x, and I'm just going to fill in that information. All right, so looking at our x squared plus 9x plus 20, what is the value of the c? 20. What is the value of the b? 9. All right, now you're going to fill in each side. Okay, you want the factors of c. Well, what do I mean by factors? The numbers that get when you multiply them, right? They equal the 20. So the numbers that you can multiply that will give you 20, but yet add to give you a 9. 5 and 4, okay? And they are both going to be positives, right?
It's supposed to be a squared plus bx. Well, that top equation.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, yes, you're right. So now we're going to put those in. Those are our factors, right? Factors are what we multiply, right? So we're going to put those into two binomials, because when we have two binomials, we are multiplying them, right? Mm-hmm. So our first binomial will be the x plus 5, and the second one will be the x plus 4. I'm taking notes. Get your phone off the desk. Okay? All right, let's move to the second one. That's it. That's as far as we're going today. We'll do another step next time. That's as far as we're going to get today. Okay, let's jump over here to the x squared minus the 11x plus the 18. All right, so I'm just going to put the standard form again. X squared plus bx plus c.
Standard form does it help?
Yeah, I think so, until you get the hang of it. You'll get to a point where you just kind of automatically do it. But now you can, where you see your where your A, B, and C are coming from. So what am I going to put on the top for my C? Okay. And what am I going to put on the bottom for my B? Negative has to come with it, negative 11. So now you need the factors of 18, but yet add to be a negative 11. Negative 9 and negative 2. Okay. Does a negative 9 plus a negative 2 give us a negative 11? Yes. And does a negative 9 times a negative 2 give us a positive 18?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so let's put those into our two binomials. So then we would have x minus 9 times x minus 2. Okay. Now, let's go back to our first problem. Both of your factors were positives, right? And when you multiplied, what was your C? C was also positive. You see that? You see your patterns starting to hold here? Now look at this second one. Both of your factors were both what? Negatives, but yet your C was positive. So how do we get that value of C? We get that by multiplication, right? If we multiply by 2 negatives, we get back a what? Positive. So if we multiply by 2 negatives, we got back positive, right? And if we multiply by 2 positives, we also get back a what? Positive. Okay, see your patterns? So in your first one, it was x squared plus bx plus c, and we got a positive combination for our factors. Over here, we had an ax squared minus a bx plus c, so we had 2 negative factors to get back the positive. Yes, ma'am. Okay, let's make our x. Okay, what's going to go in for our c value? Negative 12. What's going to go in for our b value? Negative 4. Okay. What's different about this one? Okay. Okay, yeah. So, how did we get the negative 12? We got the negative 12 by multiplying what? A negative times a positive. So you can go ahead and put that in, a negative times a positive. What'd you say? What'd you say, Janessa? Negative 6, positive 2. Okay, so does that work? Does a negative 6 plus 2 give us a negative 4? Yes. Does a negative 6 times a positive 2 give us a negative 12? Yes. Okay. So when your C value is negative, you're going to get a positive-negative combination. So in this case, we get an x minus 6 times an x plus 2. So when you're thinking about the factors, you can almost, if you're, oh, I need to close that. If you're thinking about the factors here, the way you get B is really you're taking the difference, right? To get the B when you have a negative, you're really just taking the difference. The difference of 6 and 4. I'm sorry, the difference of 6 and 2 is 4, right? And then your larger factor carries that negative, in this case the negative sign, okay? Now you can also have, this can also be positive as well. You'll still get a positive-negative combination, but your larger factor would carry the positive. It would work the same way, okay? Any questions on that? All right, so if I look at my first equation, I have, for my a value, so if I put my ax squared plus my bx plus my c, now I have a value of a. In this case, that has a value of 6. Now we're going to move to our second x on your factoring chart, okay? So that's a little different. Instead of just c at the top, now it's c times the a. Your b still stays b. You're still going to find the factors, but what's the other step I added? Once you find the factors, you're going to have to divide out the a. So the first step we do, we introduce the a by multiplying with the c, and then we turn around and take it out when we find the factors by dividing, okay? So it's kind of a 2 extra step thing. But other than that, we follow that X process. So let's try it. Okay, so let's go to our first one here. So I have an A value of 6 and a C value of 4. So 6 times 4, 24. So now we're going to have a 24 on top. We're still going to put our B at the bottom. What's our B?
11.
Okay. Now, we're going to do the same thing. We want the factors of 24 that add up to 11. So look at your sign combination. You have a positive, positive. So what are your signs going to be? They're both going to be positive as well. So you can go ahead and put those in. Okay, what are the factors of 24 that add up to 11? 8 times 3. Yeah. So we'll put in the 8 and the 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. 8 times 3 is 24. And now we've got to bring, we put the a in, now we're going to take the a out. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to divide both my factors by that 6. What can I do to a 3/6? That can reduce down to a what? 1/2. And what about that 8/6? So what can I reduce that down to? What's in the numerator? 8. Divide them by 2. So what would 8 divided by 2 is what? So 4/3. There you go. You guys kept saying 3/4. So 4/3. All right. Now, since we had that a, we do have fractions. What's going to happen is the denominators will become the x coefficients in your binomials. Okay? So it's going to look like this. So your denominator of 3, so it's going to be 3x plus the 4. And on your second one, you have a denominator of 2, so that comes back as a 2x plus the numerator of 1. And that's your answer.
Oh.
See it? Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So it's the same process, just a little more to do with our a, but we still kind of walk through the same thing. Okay, let's do our 3x squared minus our 2x minus our 8. So you have a negative combination here. You see that? Okay, so on top, my a of 3 and my c of -8. -24. My b is, what's my b? -2. So what are the signs of your factors going to be? You have a -8. What do you multiply with to get a negative? What's the sign combination? A negative and a positive. So you know you're going to have a negative and a positive. So you're essentially looking for the factors of 24 that have a difference of 2. Your -8, when you multiply to get a negative, that's a positive, negative, positive. Okay. All right, so we figured it out. What is it?
-6 and 4.
-6, +4. Yeah. And now we're going to divide by the a, which was 3. What can I do with a -6 divided by 3? -2/1, so we'll say -2. And then 4/3? Yeah, nothing. Okay, so remember that over here, that 3, remember that's going to become the coefficient of your x term. All right, let's put it in our two binomials. So let's start with the -2. So that would be x minus 2. And then your 4/3, that becomes 3x plus 4. Okay, so let's put it in. So 3 times the 16, 48. You have a -16. What's your sign combination? You have a negative here and a positive here. The factors are going to have to add up to be a -16, but when multiplied, have to be a 48. 2 negatives. So,
14. So are you sure it's a negative? So it's a -16.
yeah. Yeah, it has to be. Okay, so what is it? -14 and -2. Okay. Now, what do we do? Divide by 3. Okay. Those do not, there, I don't see any. Do you guys see any simplifying? Because I don't. So those become your x coefficients. So 3x minus 14 times 3x minus 2. Did we do that right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay, when we go back and check this, we see that our -14 and -2 do not work, so we're going to change that up. I'm going to change that ever so slightly to the -12 and the -4. Divide those out by our 3. So here we get a -4, and we'll leave our 4/3 alone, so we still have that x there. So let's correct our answer. So this would give us an x minus 4 and a 3x minus 4.